student is ready. Ready translates to willingness. Willingness is perhaps the most important word you can learn on your road to real magic and manifesting miracles for yourself. The question always that I ask people is, how willing are you to make your thoughts, your dreams, your visualizations, your images, your invisibleness, that's what all those things are, how willing are you to allow those things to become reality in the physical world, in the world of form? And when people say, well, I tried what you suggested and I thought about it and I really visualized it and I got the image and all of that, and it didn't work out, I always say to them, what weren't you willing to do? Where did you stop? Because life gives exams, and those exams keep coming at you, and the challenges will keep coming at you, and all of the things that are continuing to come at you are challenges and opportunities, and are there exactly because they're supposed to be. It's all, the whole universe is exquisitely synchronized. It's all operating in its own perfection, and you have to see all of these events and all of these things that you'd have judged to be failures, and all of these things that you thought were obstacles, or all of the events that you thought were horrible or blissful or beautiful, whatever they're all supposed to be there. There's no accidents at the subatomic level, the tiniest little quarks that there are in the subatomic field. Every one of them is on purpose. It may look like chaos, but it's not. And so is everything that comes into your life. And you have to be willing to connect to that grand design, that grand plan. And willingness is like a student who is ready knows that anything that shows up is something that you can say, I'll look into that. I'll check that out. It is somebody saying, well, you might try this, and instead of you saying, no, I've tried that, that doesn't work, you stop and you say, yeah, I'm ready now. I'm ready to give that an effort. The student who is ready is a learner who is willing. A student who is ready is a learner, not a teacher, but a learner who is ready. And that readiness, that willingness to take what comes into your life and say, I'm going to fly with it, I'm going to do something with it. Even as you're listening to some of the things that you're going to hear in this tape, some of them will undoubtedly sound outrageous to you. And if you want to hang on to your truth and stay there, that's absolutely fine. But it will not allow you to transcend and get into another level of what I'm calling real magic. And it isn't that I'm right and you're wrong. None of this is about right and wrong. If anybody has any suggestions or thoughts to me, and I get letters by the thousands weekly from people who offer me suggestions on how to say this, or maybe it wouldn't be that, or somebody send me a pamphlet about this is what this meant to me, or why don't you read that book, or whatever. And I have a huge file in my office where I take those things and I put them in there and I go through them periodically, and I will send my secretary over to order these different books that people have recommended, and I've shifted many of my perceptions and beliefs based just upon being willing to hear something new and to have someone explain it in a different way. Unlearning the big lie. The big lie is that you are limited, and that doubt and fear are the way that you learn things, is by having that willingness. I don't think there's any more key word than willingness or readiness in your entire vocabulary. Being willing to try something new. Most of the things that don't work for you in your life, the relationship that didn't work, the bankruptcy or the lack of prosperity in your life, the fact that you didn't make the team or you didn't pass the test, the fact that you weren't able to overcome the flu, or you developed some kind of overweight problem or some kind of addictive problem that you have in your life. Most of those things, or virtually all of those things, are the result of your being unwilling or not ready to be a student. Not ready, just simply not ready. The addict who continues to use drugs or to use alcohol or to smoke cigarettes, it isn't that they don't have the willpower, it isn't that they don't have the capacity, it isn't that they're inferior in any way, it isn't that they've inherited bad nicotine genes or bad alcohol genes or bad cocaine genes. It has nothing to do with that. It is, I still am not willing. Because when it boils down to it, you can go to every self-help group in the world. You can go to the 12 steps, 50 steps, 100 steps. You can put patches on your arm. You can, go through all of the difficulties and the stages of your addictions. But by and large, when it gets right down to how do I change a behavior to become more magical as a human being, you have to do it yourself. You have to, in the bottom line, in the end, you have to be willing. And willingness doesn't mean I tried it and it didn't work and it was too tough for me. What you're really saying in that moment is that I was willing to do it for an hour, but I wasn't willing to do it for an hour and 1 minute. I wasn't willing. The student who is willing to not be tired, is willing to be healthy, is willing to be happy, is willing to be wealthy, is willing to be in great relationships, is willing to have virtually anything. And that willingness, when you have that, when you are the student and you are willing, then the next word in that wonderful Zen proverb, when the student is ready, the teacher, and I've just said don't be a teacher. So who are the teachers? The universe will provide the teacher. The universe is on purpose. Everything in the universe works on a purposeful way. Your life is a parenthesis in eternity, as I talked about in one of my earlier programs. The reason that quantum physics intrigues me so much is because I know that I'm made up of these particles and these atoms and these things that they're talking about, so that in some grand sense, if the microcosm is the same as the macrocosm, and if the same intelligence that allows a cell in my body to work, and I become a cell in this body called humanity, and then if you look outward and inward, I mean, it really teaches me about me and the miracle that I am, that how I showed up in this, all of it, it astounds me that there is a purpose to everything in my life. And I've only discovered this in recent years, that everything that I do, everything that comes into my life, good and bad, loving and otherwise, is all part of this perfection. That if subatomic particles are on purpose, everything else is as well. And so that when things come into my life, when I have willingness and I am ready, then teachers start to show up. And it isn't like the teachers haven't always been there. I mean, one of my favorite examples is of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is this wonderful, wonderful book that I've quoted from many, many times in various programs and in various books. And it's an ancient Hindu holy book. But the Bhagavad Gita has been in my library for, about 30 years or so. And it's been sitting on a shelf. And I finally picked it up about 3 years ago. And I studied it. And I read through it, and it blew me away with its simplicity and its beauty and its profound truths that are in it. And I said to my wife after I finished, I said, it's about time they wrote something like this. And I was reminded that it was, like 6,000 years old or whatever, that the teacher was there all along. But my lack of willingness didn't allow me to access it. And another way of saying that is that invisible intelligence that was within me, that has always been within me, I wasn't willing to access yet. I wasn't willing to make contact with it. It was there, but I just simply didn't choose to access it and begin to apply it. The teachers are appearing everywhere. Every time you turn around, there's another teacher. The books are all there. They've all been written. The great sages have all said what they have to say. The teacher shows up in a million different ways, in ways that you can't even begin to comprehend how perfect it is for you. The right person, the right phone call, the what I called synchronicity, and you'll see it when you believe it. Someone will write you a letter that you've been thinking about at that moment, and you've had a problem or a difficulty in your life, and suddenly an article will just show up that somebody said, I think you might want to read this, and the article turns out to have been 20 years old. The teachers are everywhere. The teachers are strangers that sit down next to you. The teachers are the little tiny children that show up in your life. The teacher might be a book that that drops off a shelf while you're walking by. The teacher might be this very tape program that you're listening to accidentally because right now you're driving somebody else's car and it just happens to be in there, and you've never used this car before and you've never gone home this way before, and you don't know how to turn the damn thing off. And so you've got to listen to this voice and you can't stop it, and you don't know how the volume control works.